Hi, and welcome to Minnesota Republican Roundtable. I'm your host, Jennifer Zielinski. We are just out of 2024. Welcome to 2025, and we have a lot of exciting things to look forward to this year, especially at our national level and our state level, with President-elect Trump coming in, and we have a great, I think, outlook for our state legislature with some of the divide that we have and some of the hope that we have. If you were participating in the election, maybe you voted, maybe you did something else, worked for a candidate, it's not the time to relax. It's time to keep involved. With us today is Tom Spitznagle, and you are with Minnesota Republican Seniors of Minnesota, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, and just talk about yourself. How did you find yourself in politics?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. When I think about it, I have to go all the way back to when I was 11 years old. My father had talked about President Roosevelt and how he helped people during the Depression, and so my father was a Democrat. Mm-hmm. And then we had President Eisenhower during the 50s, and he was looked at favorably. And I decided that I wanted to support JFK. So a friend of mine and I, and we were both 11 years old, we thought it would really be important to make up little slips of paper saying vote for Kennedy, vote for JFK. And we went down to the local shopping center and placed them on the shelves of some of the stores. So that's kind of how my early introduction to politics.
And very cool. And we have his nephew back involved, and I think JFK would probably be considered a Republican in today's standards.
Yeah, that's true.
But you've taken a turn, so we'll keep going.
Along the way, you know, I worked in the corporate world and so forth for many years, and I was paying attention to politics at some level. But I think in the early 2000s, we had an election of a new president in 2008.
Yes.
Who had campaigned on a number of different promises. And I noticed within the first couple of months of his term that he was doing exactly the opposite of what he had campaigned on. So I contacted our Senator Amy Klobuchar, who referred I had about 10 or 12 things listed, and she forwarded my concerns on to David Axelrod at the White House, and I got a letter back trying to smooth it over. But that's when I began to realize that, you know, I'm not really being told exactly what's going on. So I started to engage more in different ways, and just by coincidence, one night, late at night, I was listening to C-SPAN, and there was like a senior U.S. military officer testifying under oath in Congress. And the things he said were totally at odds with what the media was reporting. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then another time, my wife and I were watching TV, and we ended up on Glenn Beck just by accident. And we listened to him for a while, and it's like, something's not right here. And so I started studying issues in detail. And I've been doing that for about 15 years, and I might spend anywhere from 3 to 6 hours a day studying issues, both state and national. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I got involved in politics. And I have a network of friends around the country that I communicate with, and we share information, and they're all a lot of retired military people, officers, and we think we know what's going on now.
And Tom, I'll just say this. I think Glenn he's always been a bit I don't want to say out there, but he speaks the truth. I love listening to Glenn Beck and everything he talks about. But he always brings those ideas, and you're like, wait a second, I haven't heard this before. What's going on with this?
Well, that's exactly the way I looked at it. You know, I had no experience with him, but somebody's on TV, and they're saying something different than what the newspaper is saying.
Yes.
So that kind of leads me into the Republican Seniors.
Yes.
You know, I started communicating with friends, and somebody in Bloomington, a friend in Bloomington, said, well, there's this group that meets down at one of the local restaurants. Why don't you check it out? And so I So I went down there, and I hadn't engaged in anything political personally, going to meetings or rallies or any of that kind of thing. So this was something new for me, and I was like a little hesitant. But I went there, and I went to a couple of meetings, and at the time they were run by our president, Bob McGinnis, and his wife, Barb,
Okay.
who were really instrumental in keeping the Republican seniors alive and growing. I have a great deal of respect for them. And so I started, sharing some of my email alerts with Bob, and he invited me onto the board of Republican seniors after a year or so, and I served out my 6 years, and my objective was, Republican seniors is a great group, and they get together once a month, and there's about 80 or 90 people at the time. Mm-hmm. Now it's grown to up to 130.
Oh, wow.
A meeting. And but the information that they're learning from people who have firsthand knowledge, which you don't get from the media. It's filtered by the newspapers and the networks and such.
Yeah, we always hear a weird version of what they want us to hear.
Exactly. And so here we are sitting and getting firsthand information from subject matter experts on issues that are critical to people's well-being.
Yep.
And so my objective was then, we need to share this with seniors nationwide or statewide.
Everyone. And now just taking a moment, Republican Seniors of Minnesota, that's going to be an affiliate of our Minnesota Republican Party, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. There's several affiliates. Mm-hmm. I believe ours is the largest one, but there's also an affiliate for Hispanics and young people and women, and there may be a couple of others I overlooked, but and these groups are all independent, and they are promoting the conservative message and trying to educate people in different groups.
Yeah, it's kind of a couple things that the affiliates do. They are connected with the Republican Party, but they're a chance for people to meet with people who maybe look like them or have those same beliefs or same background.
Exactly.
And it's not really separating us. It's not like that's where the old people need to go, that's where the young people need to go. This is where if you're from a different country or something, but it's sometimes you fit in with people who have a similar outlook in life to you.
And so our meetings in particular, we have had great speakers like Rudy Boschwitz.
Oh, wow.
Former senator. Recently we had General Votel, a retired general who was a key advisor to the White House just in recent years. And we also have people from the Child Protection League, which I think very highly of.
And we'll definitely get into them in a moment.
Right.
Now, how often do you guys meet, and where do you guys meet?
Yeah, we meet the second Tuesday of every month, except for December.
Yeah.
And right now we have a great venue in Bloomington at the Bloomington Event Center.
Okay.
It's on American Boulevard, kind of over by 494 and 35W.
And what qualifies somebody to be a senior, to be eligible to?
Yeah, membership starts at age 50.
Okay.
And goes as far as you want.
Really no limit.
We have some people that are definitely seniors. Mm-hmm. But anybody can attend our meetings. There's no limit on that. And then we do have some younger people that come from time to time.
So really all are welcome. Sometimes the Democrats like to say that,
exactly.
But they don't really mean it.
It's a fun environment. Socially, it's great for people.
Yeah.
We have one fellow that drives all the way down from the Mille Lacs Lake area.
Oh wow!
Every meeting.
Yeah.
He's there all the time. So.
And I think somebody who's looking into it, definitely, like you said, anyone is welcome, no matter what age. Membership is 50 and older. If somebody is watching this and they still want to join an affiliate, there are quite a few others, including Young Republicans, which is probably to about age 50. I don't know what their age limit really is.
I've heard 40 or something, but
yeah, I don't think they're as picky either.
No. The overall objective of all the groups is to, educate people on issues and motivate them to support conservative ideas and candidates and
Yes.
And certainly the rule of law and the Constitution, those are big things.
And we just had an election, both a lot of local elections in Minnesota, including city council, school boards. We had our state representatives all up for re-election, and then the obvious national elections. What happens when those elections are active with Republican seniors? Do you guys?
Yeah, that's an important point that you're leading up to here. But basically, we during the election season, we invite any candidates that want to come and speak to us.
Okay.
We don't endorse or we don't provide money, but as individual members, they can do whatever they want. They can donate or work for a candidate.
Okay.
But at our meetings, it's mostly here's a forum for you to explain your position as a candidate and educate people and allow them to make a more intelligent choice. But I think also what you were kind of alluding to a little bit is, the election now is over for president, and everybody's like, oh boy, and it turned out good for us this time.
Yes.
I think I'll go on vacation. Well, people need to stay engaged. I mean, because it's critical, especially now we've got elections coming up for school board and city council.
Yep.
And most people, including me, over the years would blow those off as, well, they're not that important. But that's the place where the candidates start. And the Democrats, I've observed in our own community, they'll get their people started in these so-called nonpartisan elections.
And it builds them up.
And they get name recognition, and they, maybe they're in there a couple terms of school board or whatever. Next thing you know, they're running for a state legislature as Democrats. And so there's critical issues going on in the schools, which we could talk about. That's a whole nother topic. So you really want to be paying attention. Everybody should be paying attention to school board races and city council races.
Well, I think, even in my city of Crystal, we saw an election that was one vote difference between the two candidates for city council.
Right.
Over, I believe it was Shakopee, and at the time of taping right now, this election is still being contested right now, but we have a difference of 14 votes, I believe, for this election.
Right.
2 people running for representative, 1 Democrat, 1 Republican. But these elections really do matter. It's not just the national level, not just who's running for president or even senator or congressional person. It's everyone, including the other side of the ballot.
And the other thing people need to understand is, you've noticed it here in Bloomington, there's outside groups that are trying to influence what happens in your community. Like with ranked choice voting, there's Fair Vote Minnesota, and then there's the National Fair Vote Organization that pour huge amounts of money into campaigns. And we've got ranked choice voting in Bloomington now, and that was supported by Fair Vote Minnesota with tons of money, more than the citizens had. So the citizens may say, well, we don't really want this, but they get overrun by these outside groups.
Yes.
And it's not just voting, there's all kinds of things going on that people need to be aware of. So it's a matter of, okay, you can not pay attention because you think it's trivial, and you're going to be allowing other people from somewhere outside of your community to be calling the shots in your city.
Yeah, and first of all, I definitely want to encourage anybody can take that vacation, but don't get too relaxed. We saw what happened last time with President Trump, how the media still spun their narrative. But you talked about educating seniors and some of the school issues that are going on. Do you want to talk more about that, Tom?
Sure, that's an area that I've spent a fair amount of time on. In recent years, I've met with the superintendent of schools here in Bloomington several times.
Okay.
And worked with a group of citizens who are concerned about what they see happening in the schools. The Child Protection League that I mentioned earlier is a group started by a bunch of women and mothers, I think out of Mankato, that saw what was happening in the schools, and now they've been successful in alerting people throughout the state, along with Christine Truan at Minnesota Parent Alliance.
Okay.
The same thing. So what we've got happening in the schools, and people don't even believe this. It's so crazy. It's like gender ideology is the thing that really is getting people's attention, and thankfully Trump and Vance made this part of their campaign, so it's starting to get noticed more so than it had in the past. But the idea of the schools trying to promote to the kids that they can be whatever. There could be, there's like 70 some different genders that are out there defined. It's like, well, you can decide whatever gender you want to be, and you can change your pronouns, and you don't necessarily have to let your parents know. And worst case scenario, and that you'll see is, well, you want to be the other gender, so we'll give you some drugs to promote that. And if it goes to the extreme, it's like, well, we're going to allow surgery to take place. And in Minnesota, that's okay. They passed a law, gender affirming care. We're the mecca of gender affirming care.
And you don't even need a parent permission to do that,
Well,
which
a kid
is
can come
scary.
into Minnesota and they'll be shielded from any interference outside.
And
But
yeah,
and there's other things too. I mean, there's the critical race theory and the things of that nature. Even it's supposed to be like, well, the idea is, well, the white kids are oppressors because they have privilege, and they're oppressing all the kids of color. And ironically, some of the parents of kids of color have come forward and say, well, I don't want you teaching my son or daughter that they're second class to some other kid. That's not right.
we want them
So
to be as successful
It's
as
all wacky.
every kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
So these are issues that many of the people that we've had speak at Republican seniors have brought up and given
Okay.
us more information about.
And how do seniors respond to maybe some of these issues facing these kids? We don't, obviously the seniors aren't students anymore, at least I don't think so.
Right,
But
right.
why are these important to people in Republican seniors in Minnesota?
Yeah, they're very important because seniors, most of the seniors, want to protect their kids and their grandkids especially. And they see this stuff growing in our public schools thanks to our current administration in the state of Minnesota. And they want to protect the kids. And so they're opposing, they're going to school board meetings, they're running for school board. They're actually going so far as promoting alternatives for education outside of the public schools. Like even as homeschooling, or there's like group schools where parents will get together and educate kids and bring in outside experts to help them out and so forth. So that's these issues are of extreme importance. You'd think that as Republicans, we should only worry about, the taxes are too high or the government's getting too big. Well, that's important too, but this other stuff is really hitting home.
And it's affecting families, as you said. These seniors, just because, hey, they're well beyond school, that's maybe even their grandkids or great-grandkids, but they're concerned about their future.
Exactly, and that's where the Republican Party has some strength here, because they have conservative values, and it's other groups like the Hispanics tend to be conservative and family-oriented, so do the Muslims. So it's not just a bunch of white people running around saying this is what we should do. It's like everybody's like, well, what are you doing this stuff for to my kids?
And there's value in reaching out, and like you said, these affiliates do bring that value, because we do have, like you said, the Hispanic one. I believe there was an African affiliate, and maybe there still isn't, but there are these affiliates for those of a similar background to find their way into the Republican Party and say, yes,
Right.
the platform of the Republican Party does match my values, what I've grown up with, I've learned, and what I believe is right. And this is not only what I want to see for myself, my family, and my community, but those that represent me in government.
Exactly. And Take Charge is not an affiliate of the GOP, but they Kendall Qualls, the head of that, has come to speak to our group on multiple occasions, and his work is along the same lines. Like, this stuff is going on in the schools. We need to get back to education, not indoctrination, and we need to support the family, and we need to support people of faith, and this is all targeted at the African American community.
Kendall is a great.
Kendall is
yeah.
African American, and his wife. They
Yeah.
have, I think, 4 or 5 children.
Great guy. He actually, for those viewing the show, he ran for Congress quite a few years ago, and then he's been active in the Republican Party. He's also, like you said, he started his organization of Take Charge, really bringing focus on some of these school issues.
Exactly.
And bringing it back to education.
Exactly. So, yeah, he's doing some great work.
Looking forward, Republican Seniors of Minnesota, what's coming up around the horizon here in Minnesota that maybe we need to keep that concern up?
Well, I think right now, even though we managed to gain some additional influence in the House, the Democrats are still basically running much of the state government. And in many ways, that's been problematic. And I don't think people fully realize what's going on. That's why we have this, firsthand knowledge. People come and speak to us at Republican Seniors so we can understand what those issues are. And the other thing we've been working on, actually is one of my objectives when I joined the board, 8 years ago, is to get this message out, we need to not just have a meeting in Bloomington with 100 people, but we need to share it with the whole state. And we've been successful in after much gnawing and gnashing of teeth, we've been finally successful in having quality live streaming and video.
That's great.
Which we're getting the word out to more and more people, that anybody anywhere in the state of Minnesota, or even outside the state of Minnesota. I just listened to one of the meetings. I was out in Colorado, and we can educate seniors across the state of Minnesota this way.
And even beyond.
Right. They don't need to, if they want to join our group, that's fine, but they don't have to come to Minneapolis to participate. They can do it anywhere. And that's really a major initiative of ours, and we're working hard on it.
And those are live streamed on the website, correct? Your
Right.
Republican Seniors Minnesota website.
Yeah, if you go to republicanseniorsmn.com,
Okay.
there's links there to the live stream and to the all of our meetings are archived.
Okay, so we never have to miss one.
Right.
As we get into the winter months, some people may be limited by driving ability, by, I hate to say it, the flu season coming up here.
Right.
But you can still be part of that. I think the wonders of technology are great.
It's
what
fantastic.
we have. Yes. And we'll even give a shout out to one of our cameramen is, I think, behind some of that live streaming, correct?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, we have to mention Brad Nolte's name.
And Patty, too, who does
and Patty Piatz, they're doing it for us. And I was working with our previous president, Mike Lehman, and we were trying to do this ourselves. And we didn't have a lot of money, so we were trying to put together cameras and laptop software and all that thing. And we got it working, but it wasn't reliable. And we were just ready to throw in the towel. We just said, we can't do it, it's not working.
Let the experts do it.
And we kind of put the word out, and somebody heard us, and like Brad and Patty just dropped out of the sky, and with this totally professional, videotaping service. And,
yes.
It's been a godsend to our organization, so.
Yes. And like you said, it brings it out not only to Bloomington, but if you're in outstate Minnesota, couple hours out, you can still be part of the meetings.
Exactly.
Yes. Tom, we have a couple minutes left. Anything you want to bring up, or?
Well, I think the most important thing is people need to stay engaged, everybody, not just seniors. I mean, we have a little bit of a reprieve now with the recent election, but that's, they're going to be fighting hard on our behalf, and so we need to play our part. And that gets back to staying involved at the local level, at the grassroots level, because if we're engaged and successful in promoting our interests at that level, then it provides support to the people at up the chain. That they've got people behind them who are concerned about the same things that they're fighting for in the legislature or in Congress or whatever.
Absolutely, and I think just not only supporting them, but also letting them know that you're watching. So we elected them in for a reason. We want to make sure they do what they're elected to.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes just helping, those at the local level, getting those with conservative values, even if they're not Republican or Democrat on the ballot, sometimes if we look into that candidate, we can tell maybe where their values lie, maybe getting to know that candidate.
Right.
What other ways can seniors get involved?
Well, I guess primarily join our organization, Republican Seniors of Minnesota, and come join us. We have a lot of fun. It's just once a month. You have great speakers. These are all first-hand subject matter experts. You can socialize with other seniors. You'll find out that there's lots of people that have the same concerns that you do.
Yes.
And then, depending on your interests, you can find ways to get involved in either helping a candidate or working at the MN GOP as a volunteer or helping Republican seniors. We have needs too for assistance on different things. So
yes, and usually affiliates are a great jumping board, or to get involved in politics.
Right.
Maybe you're like, how do I get involved in the Minnesota Republican Party? How do I help a candidate? Affiliates are a great way to connect.
Exactly.
Somebody with that. So.
Yep. And you'll be encouraged, to know that there's a lot of people, a lot of organization out there working on your behalf, have the same interest. Just because the Democrats win elections doesn't mean they're the only ones in the state.
Yes.
That are concerned about things. And we are gradually, it's been a long time coming, but we're gradually seeing some gains. And if we keep working, people are going to start understanding what the issues are that they should be concerned about.
Absolutely. And I think that's where we're going to wrap up. But Tom, thank you for being on our show, and best of luck with everything with the Republican Seniors of Minnesota coming up.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us on Minnesota Republican Roundtable. Until next time.